Hello, book people. PT here. I'm going to talk to you today about a little book called Ancillary Justice by Leckie. So, Ancillary Justice, or Ancillary Justice, depending on your preference, is a book that has gained a lot of attention throughout the science fiction community the last couple of years. It won a Hugo and a Nebula, I believe, or at least was nominated for both last year, and its sequel this year is, I believe, nominated for both again. So a very hot book in science fiction circles. So Ancillary Justice is the story of a spaceship that is sentient, which is not a weird thing in society. All spaceships are sentient, and what's more, the ship also is not only sentient itself, but has all these, basically all these bodies, which have a collective mind, and it can use these bodies to do things on the ship itself, maintenance and just various other tasks. Basically, a lot of the ships are crewed by these bodies, which are called ancillaries. Or it can also send them out into different worlds to perform different tasks while their brain still remains connected to the ship. Very interesting concept, great big idea, and played well here. There's a couple scenes, at least one scene, I think two scenes if I remember, where that's used to really good effect, where there's basically two conversations going on at once. So you're kind of put into the head of this collective mind where two different bodies in two different locations are having two different conversations, and you're seeing it all on one page. Now, I would definitely not like to read a whole book like that. That would be terrible. But for one scene, it was pretty cool and really put you in that mindset. Great idea. So one of the things that gets talked about a lot in this book is the empire that's kind of in charge of the universe in this book does not have gender-specific pronouns. So our narrator just uses she for everyone. On top of that, even when the narrator is in other cultures where they do have gender-specific pronouns, it's very awkward for the narrator because she can't tell very well men versus women, and she always is using the wrong pronoun, and it's a little bit of hilarity there. But an interesting book because everyone's referred to as she. You're kind of left to your interpretation who's a man and who's a woman, which is kind of an interesting exercise. But that's the thing that gets talked about a lot. And while that's cool, I think the thing that often gets overlooked a little bit is that really this is a revenge story, and a pretty good one at that, I would say. Basically, what's happening in the story is we're hopping back and forth between two timelines. One is when this ship is kind of at the height of her powers, and basically we're learning about what happened, how the ship was kind of betrayed by the person that she later in the second timeline is trying to get revenge on. So we're hopping back and forth between these two timelines, kind of learning the backstory of what happened, and then the future story of going for the revenge. And those are very well balanced. It's never confusing which timeline you're in. At first, I had a strong preference for one, but over time, I ended up liking both of them. This book reminded me a little bit of Cloud Atlas. Now stay with me for a minute here because that's a weird comparison to make because the story is completely different, the writing style is completely different, characters are different. But one of the strong themes that I really liked in Cloud Atlas was this idea that there's always one group of people oppressing another group of people, and the people who are the oppressors are always have kind of similar and somewhat logical sounding arguments for why they're oppressing this other group. And that's repeated again and again throughout Cloud Atlas to very great effect. And I don't want to talk more about that because I could talk for a long time about Cloud Atlas. But here in Ancillary Justice, that's well done as well. In these two different timelines, we have a couple different conversations where it's basically the elite class talking amongst themselves about why it's good the way that they're treating the kind of the oppressed class, why they're doing it, and why, man, it's really a good thing that we're doing this, and boy, this is the best for society, that kind of stuff. And it's two very different groups of elite people who are having that conversation, talking about two different oppressed classes. So it's very interesting to see how like their logic is almost exactly the same, even though it's two completely different situations. So I thought that kind of theme throughout the book was very interesting. Another strong theme in the book is kind of the idea of leadership. Who do we follow and how much do we trust them? And the idea that we are kind of responsible in a way for the people whose leadership we follow. That's our responsibility in a way too. So very interesting book. I didn't. I was not sure what to expect with it because the main things I'd heard about it were all that stuff about gender, which is very interesting. But there's a lot more here as well. I would say at the end of the day, this book does an awesome job with big ideas. The one part that was a little weak maybe for me was overall like plot wise. It's very much a character driven, idea driven book, which I like. The plot is kind of a little bit simple. That's not even the right word. It's not really simple because there's all these big ideas and crazy big stuff happening. But the plot itself is not necessarily what you're going for in this book. You're going in for the big ideas, the characters, and the interesting views. So I do highly recommend this book. I liked it a lot. That's my thoughts on Ancillary Justice. If you want to see more, there is a lot of great booktube videos about Ancillary Justice. You may have seen some, but a bunch of booktubers did a great live show on it. I can't remember who hosted that, but many great booktubers are in that. So check that out. That's going to do it for me. I'll talk to you next time. Bye.